Boys, it is with great regret that I have to tell you that PC gaming inflation is real. You might think, Colin, why are you telling us this? You have a channel that's solely based around PC gaming and PC building. I think that it's important, even though this is the focus of the channel, for me to let you guys know the reality of the situation. And it is that normal people are being priced out of what is one of my favorite hobbies. And it's unfortunate, you know. So I'm going to explain to you all the reasons that the price of PC gaming has gone absolutely through the roof. And it's not just in 2025, it's throughout like the last decade, essentially, since all the venture capitalists got their grubby little hands on everything. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to provide you guys with what I think is a semi-decent solution. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's better than nothing. Give you guys some answers to the problem. The biggest part, obviously, the most expensive purchase that you'll be making if you do end up building a custom gaming computer is going to be your graphics card, and the prices of graphics cards are completely out of control, sadly. Just to break it down for you guys, this guy explains the story of when he was 12 years old in 1999. He built a gaming PC and he put a very high-end graphics card in it, which is the Rivia TN-T2 from NVIDIA, and it cost around 2,000. You see how I made that mistake? It costs around 200 in MSRP, adjusting for inflation. So in today's current money, $200 is around about $390, which is insane by itself. But to make a point, that was a super high-end graphics card back in 1999. And in today's money, it's roughly $390. When you take a look now at the current high-end graphics cards, the 5090 is going for $2,500. And you might want to say, oh, the TNT2 is not the exact top-of-the-line card like the 5090 is. So we'll just say, okay, fine. We'll compare it to the 5080, which has an MSRP of 1,000, which is significantly worse performing than the 5090. It's not in the same category, do you know? But even when you compare it to that, it's over double the price adjusted for inflation for a high-end graphics card now versus back then in 1999. And it's interesting reading this story because I can compare it to my own story of when I built my first gaming computer when I was about 15 or 16. And when I built that, it must have been like 2018 when I was that age, when I built my first gaming computer. The card that I used in my PC costed me brand new £160 back in 2018. I had the RX 580 8GB, and back then by no means was it a super high-end card at all. It was definitely a mid-tier card. But what's interesting is I have a mid-tier card now as well. I have the 4070 Super, and that card is about as mid-tier as it gets pretty much. And it's interesting because back in 2018 the RX 580 8GB was also considered a mid-tier graphics card, but that one cost me £160 brand new. And now, only a couple of years later, about 7 years later, I'm paying nearly £600 for a mid-tier card. Okay, so if I put that money into an inflation calculator, £160 in 2018 currently is just under £210. So how come my mid-tier card now costs nearly 600 quid? And also, another super interesting thing is that my graphics card doesn't even have double the VRAM that my RX 580 had. My RX 580 had 8GB of VRAM, whereas my current card has only got 12. It doesn't even have 16. It doesn't even double it. But even if I adjust for inflation, it's nearly 3 times the price. Make that make sense, because it doesn't. There's a bunch of other issues with graphics card launches. You got paper launches, so the price, the MSRP, the price that the graphics card is supposed to launch at, never ends up being that actual price because there's so little supply. And it's like anything. You know, if there's very little supply for something, then it'll get bought up by bots and then it'll get resold on eBay for, you know, up to 50% the original price, maybe even more sometimes. Another interesting way to look at this is I think that the prices of PCs are deliberately going up so much so that we actually can't afford them. So then we're forced to either rent them or do some buy now, pay later bullshit. They want us to pay monthly. They want us to pay a subscription just to have a PC. They don't want us to own the PCs outright. And Gamers Nexus, I suggest you go watch their video on this. They did a really good video on NZXT where they had this build section where you could essentially just rent a computer. So it was like, you know, you'd have some mid-tier computer and it'd be like $100 a month to rent. And they did the calculations and stuff, and it summed up quite well in this. They would have like, you know, a $2,000 PC, and if you owned it for like 5 years, it would end up costing you like 15 grand essentially. So like the price of building like 5 or 6 computers in that space of time just to own one computer. And you don't even technically own it, you're just renting it. You have to give it back when you stop using it. But it's summed up quite well in this Steam community post. The NZXT offered a service called Flex where customers can rent a gaming computer from NZXT for a monthly fee. The monthly fee is constantly increasing and cancellation has proved to be a hassle, so they made it deliberately hard for you to cancel. Also, massive security risk as NZXT lays claim to all user data left on the machine. I didn't even know that, which is insane. Even if that data is deleted, it can still be recoverable from the storage drive. So basically, it's a massive data breach as well. When you give the PC back, they can essentially have all your data as well, which is insane when we think about all the private information that's on your computer. They deliberately changed the specification. This is why I recommend you watch their video as well. Is like they would have like the same tier of computer, but when you switch from buying it outright to renting it, they would swap some of the parts to make it a lesser computer in hopes that you wouldn't notice. They claim that they didn't do that, but we all know that they did. And then, you know, obviously they were advertising through all these brain rot influencers as well. So like you would have like all these TikToks being like, oh, you don't have to buy the computer outright, you can just rent it for 50 quid a month. It's so much better that way. It's deliberately marketed at kids who can't necessarily afford to build or buy their own computer outright. It's terrible. And obviously they came out and they say, oh, we messed up, guys. This guy's just so we all know. But it's part of a bigger thing. So Klarna, you've probably heard of these guys. They are a buy now, pay later company. And you can do a little bit looking into Klarna yourself if you're interested. But basically, Klarna is a deliberately predatory company that preys on the younger generation of people who do not have the same buying power as their parents or their grandparents. Now that everything's so expensive, companies like this basically benefit from it. So when you go to check out on an item that's expensive or even not that expensive, they have like a breakdown where it's like sometimes it'll be interest free, sometimes it won't be, but there's always a catch to it. It's deliberately designed to trap you into debt. So, you know, you might want to buy $1,000 computer and they have, you know, only 10 payments of $100. And then, you know, 8 months down the line, tons of your bills stack up and you can't afford to pay the $100. So then you get a massive backlog and then they increase the price by more and then they add interest for a late payment and all these kind of terrible things. Whatever you do, guys, just buy all your stuff outright. The only thing you shouldn't be buying outright is a house. You know, the only kind of debt, safe debt you can really get is a mortgage. All this Klarna, all this buy now, pay later stuff, stay way, way, way away from this stuff. I think it's all deliberately engineered. They increase the prices of, you know, gaming in general and PC building and, you know, buying gaming computers so that you can't buy it all in one go, so that you end up having to, you know, enroll in NZXT's terrible build system where you rent computers. It's just horrendous. Or, you know, if you do want to own it outright, you have to go through Klarna and pay them interest, or, you know, risk yourself getting into massive amounts of debt for a late payment. It all comes back to, you know, aggressive capitalism leads the world, and we can see the results, especially in Europe. More poverty for the vast majority. Now, all of that sounds extremely depressing. You're thinking to yourself, oh, Colin, you know, if you haven't bought a gaming PC yet or you want to upgrade your PC, it feels like, oh, it's going to be impossible. Oh, I can't do it. You know, everything is against me. We do have a couple of solutions. Obviously, you know, sub up to the channel to get to get advice on, you know, building a budget computer, you know, especially under $500. But another thing that we're doing now, which is quite interesting, is we want to have more gaming PC builds on the channel. And what I want you guys to do is either either go to our website or, you know, hit us up on our email here, and you can either click this button, which is custom PC requests. And what we're doing currently is we're building gaming computers free of charge. So essentially what that means is you reach out to us and you just tell us the amount of money that you want to pay for your computer, and we'll figure out all the parts within that budget and we'll build the computer for you free of charge. All you pay for is obviously the parts and the shipping. That's it. And the benefit for us is we get to build the computers on the channel, because I want to get a ton of custom builds on the channel, because obviously it's SVG PCs, not SVG yap about the state of gaming and all this kind of stuff, right? So we want to get a ton of builds on the channel, and the way that we can do that, rather than, you know, us buying all these PC parts outright, is building computers for you guys free of charge. So if you guys are interested currently in buying a PC, or you've been thinking about buying a custom PC or building it yourself, and you don't know how, or you would just prefer if somebody built it for you, reach out to us on here. Because, and it doesn't matter what budget you have. If you want to do a super high-end budget, we're happy to do that for you guys. If you want a super cheap budget, we're happy to do that as well, because we want a big different range of prices of builds on the channel as well. Make sure you hit us up there if you are interested in that. Another thing that I'm going to beg you guys for is sub up to the channel. We're at 423 subs as of right now, and you'll see eligibility, that's a big word, eligibility for monetization hits at 500. We've nearly got our watch hours. We only need 48 more watch hours to get the amount of watch hours we need to get monetized. We only need 77 more subscribers, boys. So sub up to the channel if you enjoy the content. If you don't, that's fine, don't sub. But if you genuinely are interested, I'd love if you subscribed. But yeah, anyway, boys, thank you for watching today's vid. There are ways and means. Like if you go on our channel and look at other videos, I do have guides on super budget builds. Like you can build a PC right now that outperforms a PlayStation 5 for less money. So I would go check out the video. We have that on our channel. But if you just want general advice on how to build a PC cost efficiently, there are ways and means to do it. So, you know, don't be feeling too down. But I appreciate you watching the video, guys, and I'll see you soon.